Hello and welcome then to episode 3 of this particular series of RWR Plays TEW. We are, of course, running as the Random Wrestling Revue. That's spelled obviously different to this YouTube channel and our podcast because it is REVUE, and I will continue to be extremely proud of that particular pun, which I'm assuming is lost or not lost. That's not the right word. Assuming nobody else thinks is very clever, but I'm very, very happy with it. So, yeah, we're into the 1st of December. As we discussed last time around, we're down to $405, so that's a concern. And we also need to now think about the next event. So let's add another event. What's this going to be? Well, I think what we'll call it. Well, no, let's just call it First Christmas. I don't know why that is in any way good or significant, but that's what we're calling it. We're going to go usual Saturday, week 2 of December special. I may introduce kind of annual shows in the future, but for the time being, I'm quite happy with these specials and kind of random show names. So we're looking towards that next show, but also I want to bring in another talent because I think what I want to do here is have our first tag team match. And I've been thinking about this off screen, and I think it's Blitzkrieg. We're going to bring in the brilliant Blitzkrieg of the sort of guy that came in, wowed everyone for a couple of years, and then disappeared just as quickly. We're going to bring him in. Um, if you're somebody who's never seen a Blitzkrieg match, I do recommend having a look because he was actually really good. Um, and not like revolutionary or anything, but for somebody who'd not wrestled, had hardly wrestled at all, some of his matches in WCW during '99 were quite fantastic. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring Blitzkrieg in. We're going to promote the first tag team match in RWR history. Now, of course, what that will mean is that we're spending a little bit more money on this show than previous shows. Hopefully, the increase in sponsorship revenue will allow for that. But we could be, for the first time, in a point where we're in our overdraft, which wouldn't shock me, to be perfectly honest, because, we are down to not so much money. And this is fine. That's what we expect. We're legislating for that. And if we're only just a touch under zero, then I might not book a show for January. I might just say, let's take January off, let's get ourselves back into the black, and then go again and hope that works, that there's enough money coming in sponsorship wise to take me back over zero. The reason this matters is that if you spend too much time below zero in terms of your balance, you eventually go bankrupt. And I don't want to go bankrupt. And so, as I say, this is the whole point of this series, and the difference of this series is that we're doing things differently. We're playing the game as opposed to kind of presenting a promotion as if it's kind of, as if you are the viewers of said promotion. And so that's the way I want this particular series to be and to go. And I'm not going to deny it. One of the reasons for that is that it is really a lot of work trying to present the shows as if you are watching them. I have to cut all of this stuff out, for example, and I have to plan much more in advance. There's just a lot more work that goes into it. Whereas this one, I can just record for half an hour, and that is an episode in the bag. So anyway, first Christmas is tonight, and we need to. He's got. I don't want him to have a Daredevil gimmick. I don't really like that as a gimmick. So I think in this case, can he do Weasley? No, he can't do Weasley underdog, which is annoying because that's what I wanted to do. In fact, he can't do dominant comedy, swagger, badass, legitimate, or offbeat and unstable either. So what can he do? I guess it's just realistic that he can do, or standard. I suppose we could just do standard and call it. Let's just do it. Let's just do standard and call him underdog. Um, I think we're going to keep it really, really safe as well. Um, so that's his gimmick that he's going to be working on, and I want him to be babyface as well, not a heel. So that has to change as well. Perfect. Good that we sorted that out before we went ahead and did this. So here we go. Next show, and as I say, what I want is a 2 versus 2 with our very, very small roster. It's going to be Buddy Wayne and Blitzkrieg against Michael Modest and Chemo. Buddy Wayne is carrying an injury, so we're going to see as well for the first time this episode whether or not that injury is such a big deal, because obviously he picked up that injury in the last show, and I was very, very concerned about it. I'm going to have Michael Modest win this one and beat Blitzkrieg. He's going to do it with. He's going to do it tainted win, pinfall finish. We have to put the storytelling, and I think we'll also put slow build on that one as well. And yeah, so that's what we've got in terms of a match. Not sure. Yeah, I said I'm not sure how Buddy Wayne's going to go, but we'll soon see. We're going to have Buddy Wayne introduce Blitzkrieg as the sort of opening angle. At some point, these shows will actually be a little bit. These events that I'm putting on will actually be a little better, which is another reason why I couldn't just present this as if you were the viewer, because obviously the shows aren't very good. So that's all we're going to do. In fact, we're going to go his tag partner, Blitzkrieg. So this is the guy that Buddy Wayne's brought in to help him with Michael Modest and Chemo. To be honest, I'm not actually loving that. I was trying to find a way to introduce Blitzkrieg, so that they could then Buddy Wayne would use him as a tag team partner. The problem is that would require me. Oh, I might change my mind here. I might change my mind about what I do. I might just have Blitzkrieg come in as an opponent for Michael Modest. What else could I do though? Could have like key. All right, I've changed my mind entirely. This is the difference, right? Between um, like this is the difference between um, sorry, this is the difference between me presenting the shows as if with you just seeing me present those TV shows back to you, and instead me playing the game. Because now, had that happened in the WCW series, for example, I'd have had to re-record, or not re-record, but I'd have had to redo it with and not got anything from it. Like it just been work. It wouldn't have been like any content. Whereas this way, this is just making up part of the show. So what we're going to do now, this is still going to be the main event, but Michael Morris is going to win open match, pinfall finish, tainted win. We're going to give him a tainted win. I think we're going to need to make it a storytelling match. We won't make it slow build on this occasion. We'll just have that, and I think that'll work for what I'm going to go with. So that's going to be one match. We're going to have a second match though on this show, and this one is going to be Chemo versus Wellington Wilkins Jr. As I said before, I'm not actually interested really in using Wellington Wilkins Jr. much, but I've realised I might have to. Yeah, I might have to create the other match. Might have to be a bit longer, but this one is going to be a decisive win for Chemo. So basically, we're continuing the idea that Chemo is sort of, yeah, the idea that Chemo is sort of dominant. I'm going to up this to 21 minutes so that we've got enough in-ring action on the show, and I'm going to make it a slow build now. So this will be the first show without Buddy Wayne on it. We're not going to have the tag team match as I thought we might. We're going to have an angle where Michael Modest attacks Blitzkrieg after the main event. Sorry about this. I don't like leaving silences. Let me know if that's a problem to leave the occasional silence. I don't really like doing it. Obviously, I'm usually on a podcast, and leaving silence is not really what you want to do when you're creating a podcast because it's not visual in any way. Um, so I kind of panic when I leave silences, but I'm trying to get more comfortable with it with this. So what's going on here? Okay. So we want him to be fighting, him to be selling. We're going to have it so that actually we're going to have it so that Buddy Wayne's not even in the building, because he's not here, is he? He's not here to have his match. And I think what the other thing I'll do is have Michael Modest in a promo. He's going to talk about Buddy Wayne and Blitzkrieg at the same time. And Modest says Wayne is not here, and he will now, and Blitzkrieg doesn't stand a chance against him. So that's the idea here. So I will explain this show a little bit more um, as we go through. But that is the show we're going to be putting on. It's actually 48 minutes, so it needn't be quite so long. But we'll leave it at that because it's fine. It works. Um, no announcers. That's fine. Buddy Wayne's not at this show. That isn't a problem. Right, here we go then. First Christmas about to take place in front of 44 people in Northwest. Perhaps a little bit disappointed not to have Buddy Wayne on the bill. Maybe that's their problem. In a decent match, Chemo defeats Wellington Wilkins Jr. in 8:54 by pinfall with a Samoan drop. Chemo, an in-ring performance of 25. Wellington Wilkins, 22. An awkward bout, according to this, and Bruce Hart wasn't great. But still, a segment rating of 22 is not bad at all. And Chemo gets a big victory here. And this match is really just to establish Chemo as this dominant muscle guy that, is a real threat to everybody else. So he wins the match. Then we get this angle where basically Michael Modest is saying, I'm me and Chemo have ran Buddy Wayne out of RWR. You won't see him after the beating we gave him last month. And he says that Blitzkrieg, this new young guy here, doesn't stand a chance against him. That's the basic premise of this. From a visual perspective, this perhaps wouldn't be what I'm looking for because Michael Modest was quite short and possibly not even bigger than Blitzkrieg. I'm not sure, but I'm going with it anyway. Michael Modest apparently clearly enjoyed having the freedom to go off script. We've kept the Modest Buddy Wayne storyline going, which obviously we need to do as one of the requirements we've got is to run a story and have a bit of story on each show. And a segment rating of 18 is not bad. Then they have their match, a 19 rated match. Blitzkrieg a 28, Michael Modest a 22. Bout dragged in a middle with a lack of flow being noticeable, and Bruce Hart wasn't a good road agent. But Modest beats Blitzkrieg after using a foreign object, so he doesn't even beat him cleanly, and it goes 21 minutes. So the idea here is that Modest is getting frustrated more and more as the match goes on because he expected this to be a rout, but Blitzkrieg manages to stay in it for way longer than expected, and he's defeated. He even though he ends up being beaten, Michael Modest has to use a foreign object to do it. So Modest's continuing frustration, he attacks Blitzkrieg after the match, and that got a segment rating of 24. So not a bad set of ratings, a 20 overall rating for the show. It increased our popularity in one region, which is of course all we needed. And I can now make the speech to say well done to Michael Modest, well done to Blitzkrieg, and well done to Chemo. There we go. So that now hopefully makes more sense that we have the tag team match at the next show. So that's what will be the focus of the next show is the tag team match featuring the 4 main members of this roster. It's ridiculous to say there's a main roster when I only have 5 wrestlers on the entire roster, but that's how I'm positioning it in my head at least. Just look at the finance. So we are now below, obviously 525 in the red, but hopefully be through sponsorship, that might come a bit closer to being not not under zero. We did use 4 workers as well, and the basic pay was higher. I wonder why that was because we only used 4. Maybe it did count Buddy Wayne, even though he's off screen. Maybe it did. We still had to pay for him. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to the end of the current month into 1996. We're going to go now. So, as I say, this game is going to move along at a much faster pace in terms of in-game time. We'll have gone already like 4 months by the time we get to the end of this month in-game time. And, my hope is that we do tons of episodes of this and we end up in 20 17 or something, or maybe even the current day by the end of the series. So, I'm hoping this will be a really long-term story, long-term save. The thing that will happen, though, obviously, is things will slow down as time advances because the shows will be more detailed. There'll be more people involved, so it won't be quite as simple as me running two shows, for example, in a single episode of this series. It will slow down, and maybe I'll be forced to change the way it's presented as we go through. Again, let me know if that when we get there, if that's something that should happen, because it might be that when we've got a proper roster with proper stories and a sort of established history and everything else, and fans, lots of fans who want to come, and we're making money, that we want to you know present these episodes a little bit different. Anyway, we're going into 1996 now. We're going to have all the end of year awards, which I'll probably show you. I don't think there's anything wrong with me showing you that. And this is why it's taken a little bit longer to load. So Bret Hart is Wrestler of the Year in 1995. Not really a surprise there, although I think Shawn Michaels probably took that kind of honor mostly in reality. Company of the Year is the World Wrestling Federation. Team of the Year is Misawa and Kobashi. Match of the Year was The Undertaker and Bret Hart against Diesel and Razor Ramon at Monday Night Raw in October. Show of the Year was In Your House in September. Young Wrestler of the Year is The Big Show. Veteran Wrestler of the Year, Stan Hansen. Female Wrestler of the Year, Akira Kotu. Mick Foley is Independent Wrestler of the Year. Manager of the Year, Superstar Billy Graham. And then Announcer of the Year is Jim Ross. Color Commentator of the Year, Jerry Lawler. Referee of the Year is Charles Robinson. And there's a pay-per-view report for Starrcade 95, headlined by Brian Pillman and Sting, with Brian Pillman winning the United States title from Sting, and also the Giant defeating Johnny Vivad to retain the WCW World Heavyweight title. So this save obviously begins with the Giant having defeated Hulk Hogan, I assume, and him being champion. I don't know. I don't know if that lines up in terms of the actual timeline, but it does appear like the mod itself has the Giant as world champion. So that's interesting. Anyway, Monday week 1, January 1996. Let's have a look at our finances so you can see in the end. Yes, that was not a good month for us. We're $101 under. So I think we are going to take January off. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and consolidate. We've got good amounts of sponsorship coming in now. It might be just enough to get us back in the black for the next month. So I'm actually going to test that out now. And because I want to make sure that we do not get bankrupt, because we could easily get bankrupt if, I just keep running shows, and it's not easy to just keep to make profit. You've got to get your popularity up enough so that the sponsorship is still coming in enough money that you can run shows and stay, reasonably sustainable. But yeah, if I carry on running shows, that won't happen, and I'll end up losing money, and then I'll be declared bankrupt, which is absolutely not what I'm wanting to do or looking to do. So we're going to take January off as a promotion, come back in February, regardless of what happens in terms of finances. We're going to come back in February, and then, well, maybe I'm changing my mind again. We might not come back in February, because then if we're still in the red, then we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. So actually, I think we will desperately hope, that we come back and we're back in the positive figure for our balance, and then run another show. And I apologize for people because this seems like a really, to me now, thinking in my head, I'm thinking, are people really interested in this? I'm talking about the finances, and that seems like a really dry topic to make the centerpiece of an episode. But it's just, I think, the way we're going to have to run, we're going to have to work. That's just going to be how things go with this company for the time being, whilst we get ourselves to a point where we've got enough popularity that we're bringing in some profit to the company. And I did talk about, in the last couple of episodes, I've talked about a ranking system that I'm looking to implement. I'm still not going to explain it just yet, because it's not really we're not really ready for it. There's not enough wrestlers in the company, but I am quite looking forward to introducing it and going through it with you. And I think it's something, honestly, the thing I've got in mind is something that I think could work in mainstream wrestling companies, because it's not particularly complex. And I also think, like, wrestling fans and wrestling promotions are always worried about making things complex, and I've always not understood that, because if you watch any other sport, they are complex. They rely on mathematics a lot. Most sports rely on maths a lot. Like, if you're a football fan and you watch the Premier League, you get 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, 0 points for losses. You break ties by goal difference. I'd say that North American sports are even more complex than that. People just get used to it. It's fine. So I think I don't see why they need to always avoid that um, complexity necessarily all the time. Good news, we're in the black by $26. We're just about. No, we're not. No, I'm looking at the wrong figure. We're still in the red, $75. That is not what I was hoping for. And in fact, because we didn't run a show, our sponsorship actually was less than the previous month. Okay, that's not good. We're going to have to run another show. Um, we're going to use only 4 wrestlers. I just want to look at our size. So we haven't risen to 1 yet. Hopefully, we'll rise to 1 with the next show. Maybe that was the mistake. Maybe I should have just done another show last month. Okay, well, it happens. I know exactly what that show is, and let's add our new event. So it's RWR double the trouble. Oh, these names are really lame. They're really really lame. But I thought, why not go with the most generic kind of anybody could think of them type names for this show, because I don't want to put massive amount of thought into that. And that was one of the things I was doing. Again, talking about, oh, I've pressed to the end of the month. I don't want to do that. I want to press to the next show. But thinking about, like, the work I had to put into WCW, that was another thing I was always really conscious of, was making sure I came up with good names for things. Like like a new tag team I was introducing, I would spend a long time thinking about the name of the tag team, which is perhaps silly, but I felt like I was everything about what I was presenting had to be as good as it possibly could be in order to create a good series. Whereas this way, I feel like, because this is more about me playing the game, I feel like I don't need to do that. And so that's another reason why I feel like this is it's just an easier thing for me to do than what I was previously doing. So yeah, just another bit of explanation for why I'm presenting the series in this way, and why the WCW series perhaps didn't continue. One day I do imagine I will talk about the WCW series. And apologies if there are people watching this now who didn't watch the WCW series. Please go back and watch it if you didn't, because I think it's pretty good. But you know, apologies for those people. But at some point I've thought about presenting the what I would have done for 2002, and let me know in the comments if you were somebody who watched that who would like to see that. Then I might very well make that one. So here we are then. The latest show is Double the Trouble, and that's because we've got our first ever tag team match, and it's going to be Buddy Wayne and Blitzkrieg against old Michael Modest and Chemo. So they are the 4. Yeah, we know Buddy Wayne's hurt. Now we'll really see. We still didn't get an indication on the last show, obviously, because we didn't use him, of whether Buddy Wayne was actually going to be able to do this or not. We're going to have Michael Modest win this as well, and he's going to pin Blitzkrieg. But again, it's going to be a tainted win. This one will have to be storytelling and slow build, because it's the only show on this event. This will be the second month in a row as well where Buddy Wayne hasn't defended that Northwest title. So that's another thing to consider. So the angle. So now Buddy Wayne's not going to be introducing Blitzkrieg. Instead, he's going to be saying that he and Blitzkrieg are going to teach Modest a lesson. So that's the opener. I think I'll just keep this as overness. I don't want to. I don't know if he's ready yet for promos, but that's the idea. But Modest and Chemo win the match through underhanded tactics. And then Michael Modest is, after the match, going to say he's going to challenge Wayne to a rematch. and says he's earned a shot at the title because he's just won the tag team match and also beat Blitzkrieg the previous month. So it's kind of like a double thing where he's like, well, I've done all of this stuff. Now it's time for me to get my title shot. Just check that there's no problem with the booking. Yeah, we just got the reminder that Buddy Wayne's injured and the fact that there are no announcers. I am worried about this injury. I don't know how it's going to affect Buddy Wayne. I imagine it will affect his performances, but let's see. So we've got 44 people. So this is where Buddy Wayne and Blitzkrieg talk about how they're going to teach Michael Modest a lesson. And that is terrible. Look at how many words I've missed out of that sentence in the description of the angle. Never mind. 22 rated segment, all pretty good. Didn't even put that Michael Modest was in that segment, so that was poor. Segment rating 17, Buddy Wayne 24, so not massively. I mean, it says it took a big toll at the injury that Buddy Wayne was working through, but didn't seem to make that big a difference. Anyway, Modest and Chemo win when Modest pins Blitzkrieg by using underhanded tactics. Let's say just grab the tights or put his feet on the ropes, whatever. And yeah, that's a segment rating of 17, not bad. And then Michael Modest says to Buddy Wayne, like, it's time for me to get a rematch. Segment rating of 29, I think it's probably the best rated segment we've had. And that's the end of the show. An overall rating of 20, increased our popularity in one region, all the stuff that we want. We're going to say well done to him. We're going to say point him out as a good example, working through injury, and compliment Michael Modest as well. And that is the end of another show. And let's just take a look at this. So we made as much in ticket sales as we usually do. Sponsorship. So you can see a Workers 290. I don't know whether or not something's happened to increase. It's possible that these are the first shows. Of course, these are the first shows where we use 4 wrestlers, not 3 wrestlers. That's why they're at 290. That's me being really dim. Sorry about that. So that's why they're a bit more expensive. Hopefully, the sponsorship makes up for this because we are on the precipice here of a problem financially. Like we don't want it to snowball out of our control. Has the size got yes? So our size now has gone up to 1 in the northwest. So we're now not absolutely nothing. We now have a small amount of popularity, which is really really nice. And we're going to head to the end of the current month in March of 1996, which will mean I think that we're 6 months in game time to this save. So there you go. That's kind of proof positive that we really will move fast in game time through this. And that's pretty much the end of this particular episode, to be honest, because I'm running out of time. I'm trying to sort of keep all of these episodes to about 30 minutes. If you've enjoyed this, give us a like. Let me know what you're enjoying. Let me know what could be better. I'm aware that this is a new thing for me and a new way of presenting this stuff. And if you're enjoying it, let me know because it's just good to get the kind of feedback that tells you that there's a reason to keep going, and you're not just shouting into the void a little bit. So let me know about that. Give us a like. And also, if you want to continue to watch and you've not subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that as well, because that's always really helpful. And yeah, I'm just going to keep playing this save, presenting these videos and hoping that, there's an audience for it in some way. There's some people out there who want to listen to me talk, even if it is a very occasionally inane. In fact, not occasionally, very inane most of the time is probably a better way of putting it. And for the next episode, of course, we'll be running the next show and possibly 2 shows, depending on how long they take. I think obviously we've already kind of hinted at what the main event of that's going to be. Buddy Wayne versus Michael Modest in their second match against one another. Obviously, Buddy Wayne defending the Northwest title for the first time in a couple of months against Modest in that match. And I don't think I need to sign anybody new for that one. So we lost a whacking great $493 in February 96. So we are at minus 568. We did get 187 in sponsorship. So our sponsorship money is better. But yeah, we are in a little bit of I'm a little bit worried about finances, I've got to be honest, but we'll take care of that in the next episode. But thank you for watching if you have done, and I'll catch you next time.